Welcome everyone and cheers from Google New York. Thank you for joining today's webinar titled How Top Companies Progress Through the Digital Analytics Journey. Our goal of today's session is to walk through a recently commissioned study by Google which showcases the 4 key stages in any organization's maturity framework: nascent, then emerging, then connected, and multi-moment. And in addition, we'll share key priority areas and strategies that your organization can take to move along your own customized analytics journey. Fortunately, we have over 150 folks registered for today's event. So we encourage that you add your questions into the window. I believe it's on everybody's right side of the screen, and we'll leave time at the end to answer these questions. So let me introduce myself. My name is Brad Pringer. I lead our partnerships team at InfoTrust. After spending the past 13 years in digital media and analytics, I'm incredibly passionate about helping organizations navigate through their own customized analytics journey to arrive at the Holy Grail, a single view of the customer. I'm honored to be sitting here at Google New York with Charu.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Hi, everyone. My name's Charu Singhal, and I'm a lead on Google Marketing Platform Partnerships team based in New York City. In my role, I manage several GMP partners that are strategic to our business, and I help them advance their technical profiles so that they can help end marketers achieve greater digital marketing outcomes.
Thank you. And I think it's safe to assume that everyone on this call today or webinar is aware and utilizing Google in their everyday lives. At InfoTrust, we're not there yet, so let me give a quick background on our company. We're an independent end-to-end digital analytics organization that helps companies across their own analytics journey. We're also extremely honored to be one of the select certified Google Analytics partners across the globe, which gives us the opportunity to help organizations license and support Analytics 360, which is Google's enterprise platform. In my role at InfoTrust, I'm typically the first engagement with a potential client where I try to understand what their challenges are and if we can help their organization. Over the past year, I've noticed a trend where many organizations, it doesn't matter the size, large multi-brand enterprise organizations and small mom and pop organizations are having the same challenges and issues. We found a way at InfoTrust to really talk through a crawl, walk, run journey. And that was about the same time that I discovered Google actually commissioned a third-party study to review these different analytics stages called the Maturity Analytics Framework. So let me kick it over to my colleague here, who is going to share more about that framework and why it's so important.
Great, thanks, Brad. Happy to talk about the latest framework that's serving us at Google and our partners really well in driving conversations around digital strategies. But I want to kickstart this section by first talking about why we are talking about digital maturity. I think we can all agree that we're living in an age where there is an abundance of data signals and tech platforms. Up until a few years ago, consumers used to go online, but today they literally live online. They're more demanding and curious, and they're spending more time than ever consuming and experiencing brands and products through new platforms and media such as mobile, tablets, and voice. Consequently, I think the marketers are feeling challenged to make sense of all these data signals. And in order to make sure that they're set up for the next stages, marketers need to identify the right customers, get the mind share of the customers at the moment the decision is being made, and serve them the relevant content that aids the decision-making process. And of course, the more digitally mature the businesses are, the better they are at taking these cohesive set of actions profitably each time. So at Google, we wanted to understand what the state of digital marketing is today. And we partnered with BCG to understand where businesses are in their digital marketing journeys and the impact data-driven strategies can unlock for these businesses. So BCG analyzed and surveyed several Google case studies as well as interviewed several brands to understand what the state of marketing is. And I'm going to share a few results from the study in the next few slides here. Generally speaking, we found that there's quite a varying level of disparity in marketing maturity. And broadly, they were able to categorize businesses in 4 buckets, from nascent to emerging to connected to multi-moment. Now, I'll give you a second to digest this chart here. The good news is that there's almost 90% of businesses that fall in the middle two buckets, emerging and connected, which means there's a lot of good momentum in moving the businesses to the right-hand side. But there's an obvious greenfield in the multi-moment stage, where only 2% of companies are actually leveraging the full power of data-driven marketing. And also we found that most companies felt that it takes almost 2 years to reach full potential of data-driven marketing. So it's a really long runway to get from implementing to actually realizing the revenue impact of those strategies. Now let me contextualize this a little bit further for you. What does nascent really mean to you? In terms of products, nascent means you're using out-of-the-box capabilities of products without really connecting them. So you're really focused on getting the implementations right. In case of multi-moment, you're connecting data sources across first-party and third-party and offline, and warehousing them in cloud and using advanced analytics and machine learning for automation purposes. All this is great, but ultimately, why should you care? Why should our clients care? Well, our mission at Google is really to make sure our clients achieve better marketing efficacy and greater return on their marketing spend. And we believe that by moving from connected to multi-moment and from nascent to emerging, you can get more profitable outcomes on your marketing dollars. The study also showed us specifically that as you move through different stages of maturity, you can increase your sales on a much lower cost basis. It's almost 20% uptick in revenue with a 30% decline in cost. So we all stand to gain from investing time and tech in resources towards this transformational journey. All this is good, again, but how do you actually understand where you might be in your digital maturity stage? Ultimately, the success of a digital marketing strategy is truly predicated on being able to have a single view of your customer journey and the ability to execute faster and smarter decisions real time. And where you sit in terms of your digital abilities really depends on how you perform across these 5 dimensions: attribution, assets, audience, access, and automation. Ultimately, to understand where you are right now and where you might go from there, you have to start by asking yourself much deeper questions around each of these dimensions. For instance, in the case of assets, you might ask, are you relying solely on static assets, or are you dynamically delivering creatives that are more intuitive to the customer? In terms of attribution, you might ask, are you relying too much on last click attribution or using more sophisticated models that include online and offline measurement models? Generally, what we're finding is that companies are good at 1 or 2 of these things, but not all, because marketers are challenged, their teams are small and specialized, the data systems are siloed, and the tech stacks are so many in the market. So it can be challenging for a marketer to be good at everything. And that's where we think you can truly leverage the value of partnering with companies like InfoTrust, who are actively consulting, implementing, and driving change in the maturity. So I'm going to kick it over to Brad to walk you through specific examples of how InfoTrust is partnering with customers and driving digital analytics transformation. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I really love that study because it really just, it aligned with how we're working with our partners. Every organization has that challenge of how do we get from point A to point B? What are the steps in place to get there? So thank you very much for sharing that and let us be a part of this. So I want to challenge each and every one of you to think about your role in your organization. In other words, you need to take a look internally and understand where your organization's at. And are you set up for a digital analytics transformation? It's one thing to say, we're going to transform our analytics inside and out. It's another thing to say, do we actually have the internal, have we looked internally at multiple different items and put together a game plan to move along that maturity framework? So when it comes to digital analytics, we are all on our own journey of understanding. At InfoTrust, with working with over 25 top Fortune 500 companies and distilling their most successful digital analytics projects, our CMO came up with 6 ingredients of a successful digital analytics transformation. Purpose, people, platforms, process, pace, and payoff. Together, these ingredients can help you better understand where you and your organization find yourselves today. Let's quickly review. Purpose. Have you met with your key stakeholders across different departments and determined what those goals and marketing objectives are for you? Where are you at right now in the maturity framework, which we're going to go to, and where do you want to be? Have you looked at your people and your skill sets? Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? How to make sure that your team is properly staffed and trained for the work that it's going to take to get you to that multi-moment stage. Platforms. Review your current tools and platforms that is used to measure all different varieties of your online customer experience. What tools are properly integrated? What tools are a pain? What tools are causing challenges across the organization and stress? Eliminate some of those areas. Processes. Do you have a process in place where you're documenting daily, weekly analytics processes and procedures? Are your organizations talking with one another? Do you have a process to bring everyone together to be on the same mission of getting to that point of view where you're trying to get that single point of view of your customer? Pace. This is a big one, and one of the most critical areas is we see organizations that invest a lot of money into analytics solutions, platforms, etc. They have all of this great data, and they get to a point where, oh shoot, we're so large, we have so many processes, we have so many approvals that we can't actually quickly act on our data and make a decision based off of it. So you can do a customer lifetime value analysis, but if you can't act quickly on that and reach your customers in an efficient and marketed way, it's very challenging. And I know what's on top of everyone's mind is profit. How do you prioritize the analytics activities that can deliver the most value for your business? So let's finally get to the good stuff. I know what you all showed up today here for is, I absolutely love Google's framework. I think I mentioned that earlier, but it really helps simplify the value and benefit for organizations to invest in their own analytics transformation. I'm going to walk you through the different stages and plan to share key questions to ask yourself or your leadership or your teams at each stage, followed by a few key examples. You'll most likely find that your organization is playing in multiple stages. Please don't try to bucket your company or your team into one of these buckets, because more than likely you're going to be playing across multiple. There's probably many areas that you'll see that you can have an opportunity to grow internally to develop these skill sets. I encourage everyone, if you have a pen and paper, if you're in front of your computer, write down some key items or areas that you think will be impactful for your business in the next 3 months, and write down why. Make sure you take action from this webinar today. So the first is Nascent, and the framework that we have set up today is really help you understand what are the key areas as we partner with Google and many organizations across the globe. What are the key areas that we see organizations really investing in and spending time in when they're in this nascent stage? And the 4 key areas in this specific example is the strategy, and that really comes down to the 6 Ps. Do you have an analytics strategy in place that is looking at the long-term view of your organization and how you can get there? So what's important to your organization? What platforms and tools exist today? Make sure you're setting goals for the end of the year and prioritize those actions to ladder up to those goals. What educational gaps exist on your team? Make sure you have a plan in place. It's not as easy as just picking one platform and everything's good. You got to make sure that you really have a strategy in place that goes organizational wide. Second is audit and implementations. It's interesting right now, a lot of the partnerships or folks that are coming to InfoTrust, they're talking about the advance of media and a lot of legacy tags, and we're finding tags on particular sites that are over 100 tags that are sitting on the back end of a site. If you're a retailer from a performance standpoint, your site's not optimized if it has a set of 30, 40 legacy tags on your particular site, especially with all of the compliance privacy things coming down the road. So it was easy for a US organization to ignore GDPR, but California is coming, and it's coming quickly. So do you have a tag governance strategy in place? Are there areas that you can automate within this process? Tag management. You have a process of streamlining, ensuring proper tag deployment. So if you spend a lot of money on this audit and implementation and you make your site optimized for an e-commerce implementation or for a retailer or CPG, whatever vertical you're in, do you have a process to make sure you're managing those tags so you don't have rogue teams within your organization adding tags to the site, working with different partners, not removing it, because a year from now, you're going to end up in that same challenge. So make sure you have not only a strategy in place, but you have a centralized way or process to implement new tags or bring on new partners, and make sure that that is documented so everyone's aware and there's a process in place. And finally, platform migration. So understanding what are the pros and cons of a new platform. Should you migrate? Should you keep the existing? Should you add? Should you go from a free version to an enterprise version? Price should not be a factor at this stage. You should be looking at those end goals that you developed in your strategy and pick the best platform for your business. Do you have the resources or expertise? What partners can help you advance your analytics transformation? And is this decision based on forward thinking, or is it past experience? We have a lot of engagements with customers where they're like, I've used that in the past and it didn't work well. And at some point, that same person they're in a completely different vertical, or maybe in their past vertical, it didn't make sense, but the one they're in, it makes a ton of sense. So try to avoid looking at the past to make future decisions. So here are some indicators. If you're sitting there listening to this webinar, how do you know if you are playing at least somewhat the nascent stage? Number one, you don't understand how to use analytics, or you don't really see the value. You're talking to your team, you're telling your organization, like, I don't believe in this analytics, it's not working. Or your marketing campaigns are executed usually using mainly external data. There's no connection with your centralized CRM or your analytics. You're having issues with data collection. Your own CRM is not matching up with what you see in a platform like Google Analytics. That's a common issue and a common problem. Or teams don't really understand the customer's path to purchase funnel. Here's an example, as I mentioned earlier, of a very common use case today, given how fast media and how many different partners and complexity is in this space. This is a product that we have called Tag Inspector. It's tag auditing and monitoring software. It's really helping organizations understand what tags are firing, how they're firing on a particular site. I did not call out the specific site that this is an example of, but you would be surprised how many of you are sitting there thinking about your back end of your site if we pulled this scan for you. A lot of piggybacking going on, a lot of tags, multiple tags, legacy tags. This impacts not only your data collection, but this also impacts the ability for your site to operate at an efficient pace. Another example is just automation. In this nascent stage, you do not want to spend your resources working on manual checking tags, implementing tags. There's so many more business driving tasks that you can do. So this is an example. We worked with a very large fitness company that had multiple locations, and we helped them create the ability to more of a programmatic tag deployment. So instead of doing this manually where it's hours per tag or hours per location, utilizing Google's APIs, which by the way are available to everyone, you can automate that bulk deployment. And what was really excited about this is, from an organization that may have been nascent, this immediately brought them to that emerging stage, because we did a bulk deployment of GTM containers over 1,700. So again, if you look at the tags, you look at the deployment in a matter of hours, that's pretty astonishing. Emerging stage. What are the 4 key areas of the emerging stage? So number one, this is where you start to think about an Analytics 360 license. In this example, it's a Google's enterprise version of analytics. Integrating with the Google marketing platform, making sure that your media is tied to the analytics side. Dashboards, visualization, you finally start to have that enterprise level data where you can start to create some simplified visualizations so you and your team and your leadership can understand how is the business performing on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to access multiple platforms. You can start to look at dashboards to make your life easier and understand how your business health is. And finally, just marketing insights and analysis is how active are you of looking at your data, providing insights, providing that analysis. Some of the simple questions in each stage you should be asking yourself from a 360 license is, do you have an enterprise solution like Analytics 360 that can give you those advanced capabilities? Have you implemented an agile and scalable analytics architecture to cover every team's data? Do you have the right partners, resources in place to drive that ROI of your investment? The last thing you want to do as a leader in your organization is to invest in an enterprise analytics platform and not have the resources or time or bandwidth to actually deliver the ROI. It's very easy to do, but you have to spend the time with your partner, with Google, of pulling out the value of that. Google Marketing Platform integration. So, I'm sure majority of folks that are attending today are using some form of search ads, display video ads, 360 to drive efficiencies. But are you connecting that with your own analytics? Are you taking advantages of features, direct integrations like BigQuery integration, via click of a button? It's no longer Salesforce integration, BigQuery. There's all these integration that Google has really advanced for their customers to make sure that they're utilizing all of these features and making their life easier. Is your website development team using A/B testing? So if you're a retail e-commerce site or any site where you want to better drive that conversion of your customers going somewhere, make sure you're running A/B testing. Google has Optimize. It's a free A/B testing tool. You should be utilizing it today. Dashboards. Are your dashboards actionable? Do they drive business results? Is your organization utilizing free enterprise integrations like Data Studio? Data Studio connects within Google and you can showcase a lot of your data instead of giving someone a login into the Google Analytics. And finally, are your dashboards being used and are they updated frequently? A common thing that we run into is organization will start using these sexy dashboards and then we'll find out that they aren't updated, they're not being looked at, and they spend all this money getting this dashboard together. So make sure that you have an active process, which is one of the 6 P's in place, to actually use that. And the final of the emerging stage is marketing insights and analysis. Do you understand what media is most effective to your business? Have you moved beyond campaign level thinking? It's 2019 and we still see a lot of organizations thinking on a campaign by campaign level. There's way too much data that you all have access to. There's way too many integrations in technology and automation where you should no longer be thinking about campaign. And how quickly can you make this decision based off the insight? Which again goes back to the 6 P's of PACE. So indicators, I think you have an understanding of what the indicators are. You're using some own data in programmatic media buying, but you still have a lot of third-party data that's not connected. Your marketing campaigns are mostly evaluated in isolation. Your analytics is connected to your marketing campaigns at a very, very base level, but there definitely needs to be more integration. And you're adding resources and focus, so there's starting to be a trend within your organization that it's finally clicking. They understand the importance of this analytics transformation at your organization. Now let's get to a couple examples. Here's an example of a partner that used Google's Optimize A/B testing to drive business performance. This was a simple item where at the cart page, they included product recommendations, which was deterring or distracting users from completing their order. Without A/B testing, you would look at this and you would say, yeah, if I show product recommendations, that's going to be great. That's going to get them to buy more of my product. You would have that assumption based on maybe your experience. But what you don't have is actually proof with data. And that's really something that we focus on at InfoTrust is what is the data behind it to prove that this is the right decision or not. So a simple business impact, a simple A/B testing was by removing that product recommendation carousel, it led to $100,000 increase in revenue. And more importantly, 1 second faster session durations and site speed. Everyone at this point knows how important site speed is. So it's not just about the revenue, it's also thinking about the overall impact of a customer's journey. And shopper funnels. Shopper funnel is interesting. Some of you may be thinking, we have implemented enhanced e-commerce, but it's more than that. It's a lot of times our conversation are like, yeah, we have a shopper funnel, but they're not confident in the data. And typically that's because tagging is not set up correctly or things are incorrect or wrong. So how do you make sure you're using the shopper funnel to understand what stage of your site, what section of your site are customers dropping off? Because that's where you need to focus. And now let's get to the good stuff of the connected and multi-moment stage, which I would argue is our favorite, and something that organizations continue to want to get to, and they need to make the right steps. So number one, advanced integrations. CRM is a very easy one that is a very hot topic right now. You have your analytics data, you have your CRM data, you need to connect the two. A/B testing, I would call this A/B testing to another level. So you have the free Optimize, but Optimize 360 allows you to go a whole nother level on running multivariate tests, not just looking at whether this button is red or blue, but looking at 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 variables and finding the optimal site page, landing page, add to cart page that drives your business. Taking offline and third-party data sources in Analytics 360, so bringing that together in your enterprise analytics platform. and data-driven attribution and insights. So some questions around advanced integration. Have you integrated your first-party data yet with Analytics 360? Are you using that in your targeting and audience building? Why only target based on third-party data? Use your own data where you have years upon years of customer data. Build that into the way you drive audiences. That's one of the biggest powers of the Analytics 360 stack and the Google Marketing Platform, is you have the ability to take your own data and build audiences of reaching back out to them, not only to reach your valuable customers, but to really make a really strong experience for your new customers. Do you have a database where all your customer data is connected? So is there a data warehouse? You guys have a data lake? Is there somewhere where you can take all of your data and look at it in a single point of view? A/B testing we've spoke about. Offline and third-party data sources. So again, are you bringing that first and third-party data? Is it actionable to effectively and efficiently reach your customers? Is this data available? Is the integration there? Can you see it within your enterprise analytics UI? And finally, data-driven attribution and insights. Are you taking advantage of data-driven attribution? This is a really big topic and a passion point for me, because coming from the media world, I saw a lot of advertisers that were ignoring this. You would hear common responses like, oh, I don't trust that data, it's not working. But data-driven attribution is a really, really powerful tool to understand how all of your media is bringing that customer along the journey. A common one that comes up is display. Display advertising doesn't work. And transparently, I used to be one of those folks thinking that. What I've seen with a lot of partners is when you look at display and the journey that your customer takes, what data-driven attribution allows you to do is understand how does display and all the other media touch points that your customer is taking, what is actually that best journey? So maybe display is not driving that direct conversion, but having display as that second touch point is driving a 10% increase in your conversion rate. So make sure you're looking at the full picture. And then some connected stage analytics indicators. So you have a single point of view of your customer. It allows you to understand media effectiveness and profitability. You have online, offline, and third-party data sources. They're well connected in one enterprise analytics platform, and it allows you to be highly personalized to your audience. Your CRM integration is complete, and you're confident that your data is 95% plus accurate, and you're utilizing cloud. You're starting to get in the cloud space. You have a data warehouse, but it's kind of isolated from everything else you're doing. A couple examples of this. This is one example of a high-end client that this is one of the more, from a forecasting standpoint, it's called Intraday Forecasting. So one of our partners really want to understand in those key seasonal windows, are they going to hit their goals based on their media spend? So at 9 a.m., I want to understand and know, am I going to hit my daily goals? You know, for these types of organizations, they may drive 80% of their business in the month of December or Black Friday plus holiday. I'm sure a lot of you on the phone today can relate to that. This was a dashboard that was dynamically created using BigQuery and allowed them to see an hour-by-hour performance and allow them to quickly adjust their media to hit their goals. So it's no longer like, hey, we're going to let this week go. We'll check at the end of the week how we did. This is hour by hour. You can see the war room here, where they're literally in a war room adjusting their spend based on performance of their business, which is really exciting. And data-driven attribution I've touched on already, but here's an example of what data-driven attribution can bring. There's within 360 platform, again, I should mention this is an enterprise Google feature, so it's not available in free, but really what it gives you is that algorithm to assign weighted fractions to each touch point that your customers may be going on. Multi-moment, the final. Hopefully all of you are still with me. I look forward to seeing what questions that we have. But multi-moment stages, again, I've mentioned it earlier, it is the holy grail, and we have seen many advertisers be at this stage. That being said, as we mentioned earlier, only 2% are currently in the stage based on the third-party study that Google did. I truly believe that the organizations that really invest internally, they understand, they have a solid strategy in place, those are going to be the organizations that are ahead of their competition, that are the leaders in their space. Because with the amount of data that's out there, you have so much data that there's no excuse not to use it in a way to provide your customers good experiences, which will ultimately drive to lower acquisition costs and more revenue. So the 4 items here is 1, integrating a Google Cloud instance. 2 is predictive modeling and forecasting. 3 is correlation and basket analysis insights. And 4 is customer lifetime value, which is one of my favorites and a very hot topic right now across all businesses. So within the integrating Google Cloud instances, a couple questions. Is my organization integrating online and offline data to create an omni-channel view of the customer based on all of your data? That's the key. Not based on 2, not based on 3, but based on all 757 things of data that you have. Are you utilizing Google Cloud and Data Studio to visualize how the company's performing? And are you making decisions off of that data? Is your leadership bought in? Does everybody feel confident in the data? Do you have your data architecture set up correctly, where you literally can make decisions on a daily basis based on that particular visualization that you're looking at? The next one is predictive modeling. So do you have a deep analysis into historical data sources? And are you using that data to forecast revenue based on omni-channel data sets? So have you taken all of your data historically and tried to find what are those customers that you want to reach? Everybody can go out there and have the strategy as I want to reach everybody, but wouldn't you rather model an analysis based on your business and what makes sense to go after those particular customers? Are you actively building and testing different models to optimize specific promotions and sales, making media adjustments in real time? Something we mentioned earlier. Basket analysis insights. This seems very simplistic, but this is more than, hey, they bought these 2 products and that does better for us. But what about profitability by basket size? Which products and services are driving more value for your organization? Maybe you're focusing right now on a product that's driving a ton of traffic to your site, but if you actually looked at all of your data and the analysis, you may find out that that product that's bringing all the traffic there, it's not even profitable. It's not helping your bottom line. And that's really the distinct correlation. Is you can look at surface level insights and you can say, oh yes, this is driving a ton of traffic, or oh yes, this is very efficient. But until you have that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th layer of data that you have, that's really where you become a powerful marketer in this stage. Are you making those recommendations based on profit margin or specific metrics that you know your business? And finally, customer lifetime value analysis. What's your highest value customers over the next 1 to 2 years? Can you actively engage with these top 10%? And do you know what will motivate them in the future? We've ran a lot of customer lifetime value analysis, and the data is really strong. It's interesting to see a before and after, and to see the eyes in the room, because a lot of organizations think that they've been built on this principle that XYZ equals this. And when they run the analysis, when they take their data, they come to find out, wow, we may be spending 20% of our media on customers that aren't good for our business. So let's find that top 5%. If we have a bucket of money, wouldn't you rather reach 100% of that top 5% than to reach a lot of folks that aren't important to you? And then indicators. My organization is a marketing machine, which with dynamic execution across multiple channels, optimized towards individual customer business outcomes and transactions. The key there is you're not looking at a campaign, you're looking at how is Brad doing for my business and how do I reach more Brads? All of my marketing customer data is in a Google Cloud instance, and you're making decisions to reach your most profitable customers. With the BigQuery and 360 integration, you can take all of your data platforms, first party, third party, Google, Facebook, any other platform, you can throw that into a data warehouse and you can start to mine that data, get really good insights. You then can inject that back into 360, which is where your analytics data is, and you can start to build audiences and drive your media towards those and do testing. We're actively running predictive modeling and forecasting for our business to drive profitability, and customer lifetime value and forecasting is happening. Multi-moment stage, an example here is targeting based on customer lifetime value. This was really exciting because literally imagine going into Google Analytics 360 and you see a line item of customer lifetime value. And that is literally based on your data. and it allowed them to help predict the value of future purchases over the next 6, 12, 24 months. So when you look at the data below, you see the IDs. And when you look at one of these in isolation, it's very hard to say, yes, this is my, prior to having this analysis, you may have said, this customer is much better for our business because that's what I believe on that one piece of data. But when you look at the entire range of data, you realize, wow, that first customer ID from a CLV standpoint, way better for my business. Let's spend more dollars reaching those customers with a good experience. And here's what I would call a very, very advanced level of dashboard. But this is really a single view of the customer. And I apologize that I had to blind out who the customer is. But I think it makes you excited and helps you visualize where your organization can be. So if you think a year out, imagine having this dashboard that everyone truly believes in, everyone is behind, it's accurate data, and it has all of your marketing data in one point of view. So you can understand, your leadership can understand where you guys are at, and how do you get very narrow specific. So what I like about this dashboard is you can plug and play different variations with the data. So you can choose, do I want to look at AdWords data for Bing or Facebook? And there's a lot of granular data. This spreadsheet has much more than this, but it just gives you a taste of when you're really at that final stage and everything is connected and your data is good, you can get really powerful in the decisions and opportunities that you can have. So, summary and takeaways. I hope walking through those slides force you to think about where your organization stands in your own customized maturity framework. Remember, this is not determining how successful you are as a leader, how successful you are as a team member. What this is helping you understand are what are the areas that stuck out to you as I walk through all of those examples. What are the areas that you really want to improve in the next 3 to 6 months? Write them down, talk with the team about them, and put together a plan and strategy in place. Think about those actionable next steps and push your organization along the analytics journey. My hope is we can come back a year from today and that percentages went from 2% to 50% or 70%. I think that what's important for us, for Google, for our customers or clients, I think it's a win-win-win scenario. If we can help you drive more revenue for your business in a cost-efficient way, I think everyone wins, including the customer themselves, who has a better experience and they're being delivered messages that are relevant to their actual individual user history. So 5 key takeaways to leave today. So if you didn't hear anything what I just said, let's talk about 5 key takeaways for your organization to think about. Number 1, avoid analytics indigestion. Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars just on tools is not, and I quote, fix your problems. There are no shortcuts. The amount of times that we have folks come to our organization and say, I want X, Y, Z, we have to take a step back and walk them through in order to get there based on what we see with your current analytics infrastructure, how your data set up. These are the 3 steps that we would recommend before you get into that. If you're spending $100,000 on a customer lifetime value analysis, well, the customer lifetime value analysis is based on bad data. It's going to be you're going to be making decisions that isn't right for your business. So there are steps, there's no shortcuts, but it's definitely attainable. Focus on long-term success, not simply the first conversion. Find customers that are creating value for your company or business. Be careful before adding another platform to your stack. This has been common with the growth of digital and analytics in the media space, and why I shared that chart of an organization that had over 100 tags is some organizations are becoming almost reckless and just let's partner with every new sexy tool, organization, platform that sounds good. That's only hurting yourself and moving you away from moving on that analytics journey. Make sure you're evaluating each platform before it's added and it makes sense across your organization. Number 4, this is an enterprise effort. It's not siloed actions by each department. Your analytics platform should be fully integrated with your media platform. And number 5, lean on your trusted partners to help. And don't try to be experts at everything. It's impossible. Focus on your strengths. If you're a mattress company, and you do a really good job of selling mattresses, keep doing a really good job of selling mattresses. Don't try to invest and build your own customer lifetime value model. Now, maybe in times it makes sense, but I would say more often than not, find what your organization's really good at and bring in partners or resources to help you become really good at the other areas. Don't try to do it all. And I'll leave you with the dream is possible. This will relate with a lot of you. On the left side, you have all of your different digital media channels. You guys have all these silos, buckets of tons of really rich data. On the right side is think about more of your CRM and all the data that you have on your customer, the checkout flow, all those particular data sources. The dream is possible to take all of those data sources and bring them together so you as an organization have a single customer view with analytics. There's no more guesses. There's no more trying to tie together data or put a lot of manual time into it. Put in the work now so you have a single customer view of the analytics, and it's going to bring you to a really strong competitive advantage in the marketplace. And utilize your partners, utilize the tools, utilize all the investment from a technology standpoint that's happened over the past 5 years, where you literally have integrations by a click of a button. Analytics 360 and Salesforce, you can literally click a button. Maybe a little bit more than that, but there is an integration that's available. It's a literally click a button and you're integrating Salesforce with your enterprise stack. So do that, and there's many of integrations like that. It's not just Salesforce, there's multiple integrations available. So let us help you take action right now. If you're interested in understanding your digital analytics journey, please email me directly at brad@infotrust.com. I wanted to share this example because it's really critical in how we work with our partners. Is what are those milestones to get you to emerging to connected or connected to multi-moment? You want to make sure you have a very clear understanding of what is needed to be done. So again, if we're happy to have a conversation, just kind of think through what your challenges are. So please reach out if you have any questions for us. And finally, a quick plug, if you enjoyed the content today, we have a lot of Google InfoTrust events coming up. So we have events in San Francisco, May 22nd, Atlanta, June 20th, and Chicago, June 5th. The title is Growing E-Commerce and Direct-to-Consumer Business with 360. Also, there's a lot of upcoming webinars that you can find at infotrust.com/spring-of-GA360. Thank you again to everyone for joining our webinar today. We're going to now jump to the questions, but I really hope you learned a few things and we're fired up to bring your organization to the next step in your analytics journey. If you make progress towards that ideal multi-moment stage, your company has a better opportunity to increase profit, reduce costs, and more importantly, deliver an amazing experience to your customers. Best of luck, and now let's get to some questions. So Michelle has a question on, is this going to be recorded? Absolutely, this is recorded. You will hear follow-up from us within a day or two with an actual recording, and we'll make sure we post it on our site with all of our other information. And we're going to get to another question here. So if a client has a well-built out GA instance, how difficult is it to set up lifetime value within that platform? So there's a couple questions that I would have on this particular point. So I would want to know if when you say GA, is it an enterprise version of analytics or if it's the free version? I would say as it relates to lifetime value, there's definitely opportunities if the data is there. So the first question I would ask is, if you're a particular client, try to find out how strong their data is. All right, thank you, Christy. Enterprise, okay, great. So yes, it is definitely, if they're very strong, built on a GA instance, lifetime value, it's not something that you can just click a button and all of a sudden you have a lifetime value analysis. What we're doing a lot with organizations right now is they do build a BigQuery, data warehouse, data lake, whatever the buzzword you want me to say right now, and they're taking their data, all of their first-party data, and including third-party data. And our team, our data science team, who has many different models. So one thing to keep in mind when it involves lifetime value is there are many models that you can run, and different models are better fit for different circumstances or situations. So the good news is it's definitely possible. I think the fact that they're on enterprise analytics is a really big advantage, because when you build that lifetime value analysis, the integration that Analytics 360 has with BigQuery allows you to send that data back in, and that's where it becomes powerful. Because it's one thing to say, hey, where are my most profitable customers? It's another thing to say, I can build my most profitable customers into an audience and reach them and spend my marketing dollars on those organizations. So definitely possible. I would say we need a couple more pieces of information, but a question I would be asking your client is, how rich is their data? How far back does it go? What's the purchase frequency of that particular client? So a good thing to ask, if you have a client that's purchased if their purchase frequency is 1 time a year, it's very hard to develop that lifetime value analysis. So questions that our team would have is, how often is this product purchased? How much historical data do they have? How far does it go back? How much, like customer-wise? Is it 5,000 customers? Is it 1 million customers? Is it 20 million customers? Those are some of the questions that our team would be asking to better understand what is the likelihood that we can develop a lifetime value analysis. Thank you, Christy, for the question. Yes, Patricia, are you going to share the presentation? Absolutely, we have no issues. So that will also come with, we'll have the recording. We'll also have the presentation. I'll also send out in the follow-up note that everyone who registered will get. It's a nice nifty 3-pager that kind of showcases these different stages. That way, if you're sharing it internally and you don't have an hour to talk through everything we talked about today, we'll share a quick summarized version. All right, Harrison, thank you guys. Please keep bringing the questions, really appreciate it. So this is a question from Harrison. How do you recommend approaching a client who has strong tools in place, GA360 for example, but is still hesitant to use and or trust data-driven attribution modeling, to get them on board with using the data signals they have that power that learning and optimization? This is a really good question, and I say that with passion because I came from the media side, and I feel your pain in this pushback. Is whether it's Google or another partner, there's this constant pushback, like, well, I don't trust the data, or how do I know the algorithm's right? What we typically will push on it is we'll push for a test, right? They're using GA360. They have data-driven attribution. I'm assuming this client has their own CRM data. So I would push for a test. It's not hard to put together a test for data-driven attribution, and I would show them the data. I mean, there's no reason this organization or this person you're working with should have a problem with testing something. Whether they trust the data or not, the power about data-driven attribution is if they have their own CRM and it's integrated well, you can show them, look, we ran data-driven attribution, and this path over the last 2 weeks showcased it brought more revenue, and here's your actual CRM. That conversation becomes more challenging if they don't have a lot of their own data, meaning a customer's not buying the product directly on the site. Let's say it's a consumer packaged good where they rely heavily on third-party retailers. So it gets a little messy with what data they have, where the data's at. But that would be my recommendation. It's a common question or pushback that I think happens across the industry. No matter if you're Google or any other large tech provider, I think there's always a hesitancy to say, well, I don't know if I can trust this. We typically will push back and say, guys, right now you're looking at cost per click. So when there's not a whole lot else that you can do. So and that comes back to senior stakeholders and getting them to really buy in and believe it. So another option that is trying to find someone else in the organization that you can showcase this information to, because it's something that they should be doing. That's one of the key features of Enterprise 360. And you have partners like ourselves. I'm happy to connect with you offline, where we can show some blinded case studies and say, look, here's how competitors in your space, or maybe some similar manufacturers or retailers, are using data-driven attribution to their benefit. So hopefully that's helpful. Happy to talk more as a follow-up. All right, so Hadley, thank you for the question. Nascent stage are here. Is there an easy way to see what tags are on our site now? Yes, it's a great question. So if you remember that this is actually a really big space around tag governance. So I mentioned earlier in the conversation, Hadley, I'm not sure if you were able to join right when we started, but we talked about tag governance. And what tag governance means is, are your tags implemented correctly to have a best-in-class analytics infrastructure where you are seeing really good data? So if you're looking at your analytics and you're seeing issues with your CRM or your CRM's not matching up with Google Analytics, it probably means you have an implementation issue. You don't have something implemented correctly. Another area is around just security, compliance, privacy. So the California Privacy Act is coming very soon. That's been a hot topic for every advertiser right now, is how do they make sure that they have the tag governance in place so they're not getting fined. The fines that could potentially come with these regulations, I mean, we can call someone in one of our global clients in the EU and they can tell you all about GDPR. So Hadley, to answer your question, we do have a proprietary product called Tag Inspector. You can actually go to taginspector.com. You can actually run a free scan. It'll scan 50 pages of your site. So feel free to do that for your organization. Happy to kind of share what that looks like or next steps as it relates. But it's a really good starter for us is when we show them the tag hierarchy of their particular site, we're able to really showcase tags that they didn't even know existed. A lot of organizations will be like, yeah, I think we have 10 to 15 tags on our site. We'll run the scan using Tag Inspector and there's 50, 60, 70 of tags. So I think bringing that visibility is really critical. Any other questions? We have a couple minutes left. Wanted to make sure we left plenty of time. Appreciate all the great questions so far. All right, well, thank you everyone for sticking with us. We really appreciate your time. We know this is a lot to take out of your day. We will be following up with the recording and the documentation, but look forward to hearing from you soon. Best of luck in your organization, your role in your analytics journey. We hope to talk to you in a year where you have a nice promotion because you were able to move your organization across the maturity analytics framework. Thank you very much. Have a great week.